All right, so let's carry on here. So risk management is the purpose of this, of course, is to improve your level of risk. So hopefully you'd have less security incidents. The ones you have will do less harm. You resolve them more quickly, and so on. You can have performance. And almost all performances of security, all the ones here and all the ones really used mostly, are time. Time to detect security incidents, for example. Most companies, when they're beginning, they have no ability to detect security breaches at all. They typically never detect them. And somebody like the FBI will come in and say, we raided these criminals and we found your data on their server. They stole your data 2 years ago and you never noticed. This happens a lot. And that's a really low level of security maturity. As you improve your security maturity, you will start being able to detect those incidents faster and remediate them faster, and so on. And the time it takes you to do that is a good measure of how good your security team is. You can measure how quickly you fix problems, gaps in coverage, issues when you consolidate with other companies, and so on. You measure how quickly you adapt to changing circumstances. You can decide how quickly you achieve your goals, how effective your controls are, how many times are people doing things that you thought you had prevented, and your cost per employee or per asset value or per unit revenue. You can easily spend a lot of money on ineffective security training that doesn't actually do you any good, for example. And then you can measure how your resources are being used and whether you're really protecting all the right assets with your controls. There's a very common thing called the Security Balance Scorecard. There is a balance scorecard for business, and then there's a security balance scorecard where you have these 4 areas: financial, customer, internal processes, innovation, and learning. And then you have various things you could do down here. And here's the description of what you would do. So in the financial, you comply with regulations. For your customer, you ensure compliance, and so on. You can make a chart of what you're doing in each of these activities to make sure that you're addressing all the consequences. And then there's a thing called the BMIS, the Business Model for Information Security. And this is supposed to be a 3-dimensional pyramid, is the idea. So you have 4 basic parts of your company called elements, and that's people, technology, organization, and process. And then the connectors between these two, you can see there's 6 of them. So people connect to the organization, and that's the culture I was talking about before. How do people see the company and their purpose in the company? People to process, they call emergence, and people to technology are human factors. Technology to process is enabling. Organization to process is governing, and organization to technology is architecture. So this is the model to just try to categorize all the pieces of your business so you can now organize your thinking and planning. So there's the 4 elements and the 6 dynamic interconnections connecting the elements. So culture, I mentioned before, this is the attitude people have towards their work, and it's very important. Although it's not exactly quantifiable, but it really matters. It's a real thing. And so if you want to create a favorable culture, then this would be where people are involved in protecting the assets. They understand why they have rules. The rules have been explained to them. They feel a sense of ownership in the company, and they cooperate and try to improve your goals because they understand what's happening. And therefore, they think about security when they're planning things. And in order to do this, you reward desired behavior. And if you're going to scold and punish people, you do it privately to avoid humiliating them. This is how you improve morale. I remember this happened at the college. Back when we had the college open face-to-face, there was a hacking lab. It's still there, just there's nobody in there. And I had a lot of times that hacking lab was open all day and often into the night, and students were working in there, and nobody stole things. There was no bad things happening in the hacking lab because there's sort of a club of hackers where that was their hangout, and they liked it, and they preserved it. And there was another lab there where it was just staffed by people that didn't care, and they had stuff getting stolen and stuff. It's a question of morale, you know. If people are happy and they feel respected, then they cooperate. with protecting your company and making it work better. If they're miserable and abused, then they don't, you know. So your governing goes through policies down to standards and these various other things, including compliance, where you're just meeting like an external regulation, like PCI compliance. And then you have architecture. So you have the infrastructure connects your governance to the IT. And so you have, this creates consistent IT throughout and therefore improves efficiency and lower cost if you have wisely architected IT. And that makes your stuff resilient and flexible and therefore produces more security. This is commonly the case. For example, a lot of people think they should be able to use their favorite products from home, but when you go to a company, they typically greatly restrict you. Everyone must use Windows. Everybody must use this particular laptop. You can only use these particular programs and nothing else because they need to maintain security over it. Yeah, homeless vets appreciated. Well, yes, there's that. Yes, that's another issue of the college. Anyway, all right. And so the Zachman framework is an architecture standard for companies. It's not even particularly oriented towards security, but it is greatly respected and used a lot. And it's just another way of listing all the things you should be thinking about to make sure you don't forget about them. So you've got technology model and enterprise model and scope, and you have data, applications, technology, organization, time, and strategy. So it's just a way of listing all the things you should be considering to try to make sure that you don't overlook something. And there are data flow diagrams, which I must say in my corporate consulting, we're using these. There's even a Microsoft tool to make your data flow diagrams. People really use that. You make a sort of block diagram like this of all the things, and you make sure where did the data, here's the customers, the customer data came in here, then orders went in here, then it went to the data warehouse, then reports about it came out, and who else fed in data, and who else could receive data, and then you've got to put some kind of security boundary here and make sure you have really controlled the data, all the ways it's coming in and out. This is, it's usually quite a bit more complicated than this diagram, but this does give you the idea. You have to actually have a diagram knowing where all the data went and where are all the borders where you should have been limiting what data went past, and have you really put appropriate controls in all those spots. All right, so emergence is when people think of better ways to do things, and that can lead to the innovation. Like, say, Facebook loves this. Move fast and break things. Most companies have a change control board, and they limit you changing things because they don't want you to break things. They would rather have you move slower and not break things. Enabling support, communicate between the technology and the business people who often don't speak the same language. So requirements documents help, and certifications like this help, where you cover both technology and business, like the CISSP. That's hoping to bridge this gap, where you have business executives and technical people, and they cannot effectively communicate. So there's enabling and supporting life cycle, business requirements, service requirements, business and technologies, and then solution deployment, and then more business requirement, and each one of these feeds back to the others, and you're constantly improving all of them. That's the idea. Human factors are the human to technology consideration, and so these are issues like the user interface and ergonomics, whether people have comfortable chairs and appropriate monitors and such, biometric recognition, readability, how you enter data, and so on. The human to technology factors. And so here's a couple of examples. Suppose your company, the top organization at the top, declares a new policy, like you can no longer read company email on your personal iPhone. That's their edict. Well, they issue that, and that then affects the processes of the company. Now people who had a way of getting work done that involved using their personal iPhone, they can't do that anymore. And that now affects people, and now it affects technology as people have to build some alternative. And so that's the issue. You can use this diagram to help organize your thinking about how you're going to, what the consequences of making a change will be. And here's another example. So you get an outside security audit, and they discover that you have servers at your company that are not getting their patches on time. And that's a problem, and that's a surprise because you do have a vulnerability scanner that scans your machines periodically that should prevent that. So why did it fail? And so now you can use this diagram to hunt. So first you might say technology. Maybe the phone scanner is broken. Well, you inspect the phone scanner and it's not broken, so then you try moving out. Maybe it's in the architecture. Perhaps the scanner is somehow on a subnet and it cannot access all the servers it needs to scan, but you find that's not a problem. Then maybe it's human factors. Maybe your staff is not correctly using the scanner, but that turns out not to be the problem either. And you move down here to enabling and support, interviewing your engineers, and you find out that what happened is people have added new networks, which are not included in the configuration of the scanner. So, it's a demonstration of how, you go through some kind of orderly hunt through a diagram like this, trying to find a problem. It's not like this is the only way to organize it or necessarily a perfect way. It's just some way to help guide you as you try to figure out what part of your company you need to focus on. All right, so let's take a look at the last Kahoot, which is, here we are, 2A3 is here. I'll give it a few more seconds. All right, I guess that's it. Oh, okay, good. We're back up to 12. All right. All right, so what is the metric? Time to detect security incidents. All right, that's a performance metric. All right. It's not risk management. Risk management is just the general process of measuring and limiting risks. It's not a specific single item like that. That's a performance metric, a measurement of the performance of your security team. Yes? Oh, all right. Here we go. All right. Which one of these is not one of the 4 perspectives in the Security Balanced Scorecard? Security is not one of the 4. I see a lot of wrong answers there. Let's go back and take a look at that. The Security Balance Scorecard was up here, I think. There. So it's financial, customer, internal processes, and innovation. Those are the 4 aspects of your company, and then there are various considerations for each of those. All right. So the BMIS model has 4 elements, and what's the 4th one? Organization. There you go. All right. And what is the connection between organization and people? That's culture. Good. All right. All right. Jinx wins again. Good. Hadik. Good. And Judy again. All right. Very good. So I'll stop this recording.